Welcome to Mysteries and Crime. I'm your host, Melissa Thompson. Today, we're talking about liars and lying. And I have a question for you. Who is lying in the Summer Wells disappearance? Is it Hunter, Allie, Donald, Candus, Grandma Candy, or all of the above? And I think that we might be getting truth and lies out of all of them. But I'd like to have a little talk with you about some things that I've noticed and wonder if you have as well. There was a video put out last night on another channel that I'm not going to name because I found it so disturbing, and the video has now been taken down. But apparently, Donald and Candus thought it would be funny to film the shed that Chris McDonough was curious about in the video where he was visiting Candus at her home, and he asked if he could go look in the shed, and she denied him to go look in the shed. Now, Chris McDonough's opinion was he had thought maybe Donald was hiding in the shed. And in my opinion, I think Chris might have been onto something, because this is what happened in the video last night. Donald and Candus actually thought it would be funny to film that shed in the dark and have Candus pop out and scare everyone as in a jump scare. And they did this, and they sent it to this YouTube creator, and they published it. But now I'm wondering if they think it was in such poor taste that that's the reason they took it down. Now, Candus and Donald did this jump scare that they thought was funny in the shed that Chris McDonough was curious about, by the way. And they did this while their daughter's missing, Grandma Candy's nowhere to be seen, and their boys have been taken from them. They have so much on their plate. They say that they can't live life. Life is not worth living anymore. And yet they thought that jumping out and scaring people out of that shed would be funny, because I don't find that funny at all. Do you? So tonight, Donald is going on said channel, and he's going to give us a tour of the shed and everything that he did on June 15th of 2021. Now, frankly, I am not going to believe a word that comes out of that video, because I am with Chris McDonough on this. He changes every single thing to fit his narrative, especially since we've had the forensic analysis done on his interview with Chris McDonough. He's adding and adding. And the channel that he goes on, it is heavily edited, his interviews. And they have said they don't want him to go on live because he runs his mouth, which we all know is true. He talks and talks and talks, and they're trying to protect him from saying anything. So I am curious as to what he has said to them. But these people seem to be on the Wells side, and for some reason, they don't think his past behavior of SA has anything to do with this case now. And I beg to differ, because your past behavior definitely has to do with how you act. If somebody SAs a child, I'm sorry, that is unforgivable. And even if you could rehabilitate them, how do they live with themselves for what they have done? Okay? Chris McDonough made a very good point about the 5-year age with his stepsister. He did it with his other stepsister and a friend of one of his stepsisters. Now, Summer was 5 years old and about to start school. Who is wondering if that could have had a reason for her abduction? Okay, so we have all that. Now, we also have some information that Chris McDonough put out the other night on Web Sleuths. He said that both of them tested positive for a substance. Now, Chris McDonough would not say what that substance was, but he knows for a fact that when the authorities took their blood, each one of them had some substance in their system. Now, according to Donald, he said that Candus tested positive for weed, but he didn't test positive for anything. So there's another check mark for me to where I think Donald is lying. And Candus doesn't speak anymore because, according to the other channels, she's afraid to speak. But she's not afraid to do a jump scare. Pretty curious there. Now, I do believe some of the things that Allie and Hunter have said. Now, a lot of people want to make Hunter out as a liar because of the yawning and because he kind of had the places mixed up in the timeline. I, however, do not think that he meant to lie. It wasn't lying. I think, in my opinion, it was more of he was having trouble sitting there for the interview. A lot of children with learning disabilities tend to do this. Now, I don't know if Hunter has a learning disability, but I noticed it was just uncomfortable for him to sit there for so long and try and pay attention, which is why he was using the pop-it and kept popping it because he needed something to do. It was very hard for him to sit down. And if he does have learning disabilities, it would explain why he mixed up the places that day that they went. But it doesn't mean that he was wrong either. It doesn't mean he was lying. Now, he may have, I'm not sure about the whole cell phone thing when he said he went in there. I don't know how fast you can do that, where he found the text that it's done. That was the one thing that made me curious. Like, I wasn't, totally in on that, believing that whole scenario. But I do, however, believe the phone call that Donald called Candus at the Walgreens and asked her about what time she would be home and that there was a man peeping around their neighborhood. So I feel he is mostly truthful. Now, Allie definitely has probably put some fibs and lies in her story because she holds animosity towards Candus. There's no love lost between the two, and they hadn't spoken to each other in 7 months, okay? But on the other channel, they said they hadn't seen Hunter, Donald, and Candus, but Candus said that she took the children all the time. So now Candus is lying, or that other channel is lying, because they're saying that Hunter hadn't been around. But what if Hunter was used for a reason that day? What if Candus did actually call Hunter because she wanted him to know what they did that day? That, in my opinion, she needed another person outside of the family to say, we did this, we did this, we did this, okay? But for some reason, she did not want him to come back to the house. So I've been finding some discrepancies with Candus and Donald. Now, Grandma Candy, her story, I seen a text message that she sent to another person. I seen it in one of the groups on Facebook. Her story was in a text message, basically Candus's story. Now, if she's lying, Grandma Candy, I believe it is because her and her daughter Candus cooked up something, or Candus told her a story while she was sitting at her trailer outside of the household, okay? So either they're in on it together, or Candus told her mother a story. And I just find it extremely strange that your granddaughter goes missing. You've already lost a daughter and have no idea where she is. And then you hightail it out of town and no one has been able to get in touch with you. And also, I want to bring up the point on this other channel how they have said law enforcement has no persons of interest. That is not true, because Ronnie Lawson said yesterday about how this case is not cold, that it's very much that they're receiving tips and working those tips. And I'm sure they're going through all the data. Like, if it's back right now, that's what they're doing. They're going through all their electronics and finding out every little bit where they've been. They said, Ronnie Lawson said, everyone is still a person of interest. You got that? Like, this other channel seems to think, well, there's no way that Donald and Candus are a person of interest. That's not true, because Ronnie Lawson said it yesterday. Everyone is a person of interest. No one has been ruled out. So he said, it's either a suspect or a person of interest. You choose. However you want to say it, basically. That's what he said. So I'm finding things that Donald says is not making sense to what's coming out with law enforcement, and things that Chris McDonough has done behind the scenes. Chris McDonough did us a huge favor when he got these two talking. He made Candus look good in a lot of ways, and then he made us see how bad the children's lives were in that home. I mean, Summer was living in a dungeon, and it's just, I can't help but be bothered by the fact that Donald kept bringing up being tied up and in a dungeon or a basement. It was very telling how he would look off, and Candus would look off and believe that. And yet, they're throwing drug dealers under the bus, they're throwing their neighbors under the bus, the tree trimming people under the bus. It's everybody's fault except theirs. They even blame law enforcement. Law enforcement didn't do this right or that right. So who's lying in this situation? Because right now, Donald has a big red flag over his head. And I was talking to my husband again about it, and I said, as much as I try to give him the benefit of the doubt that this could have been an abduction, I can't bring myself to that conclusion. And my husband said to me, he says, you know what? He goes, go with your gut, because your gut never fails you. And it hasn't. It has, working on the ambulance and stuff, it has always helped me. Like, helping others, saving myself. And it's helped me look at certain situations and see the truth. And Donald is not coming out rosy in all of this at all. He is a questionable suspect. Now, he has also mentioned that he wants to move back to Utah. And I kind of had a thought about this. Is Utah a reminder of all the joy you had with SA, of your stepsisters? Because you have to remember, these monsters, they relive that stuff over and over in their head. It's true. Leopards don't change their spots. I don't believe Donald has changed one bit. I don't believe this guy. I think he's a POS, in my opinion. But, I do see there's these other people that are standing behind them, and I just can't bring myself there. I think they are lying. I think there was a reason why he took the Subaru that day. He wanted his coworkers and his boss to notice that car because it stands out. It's cherry red. And it's a new car that he was putting drywall tools in, which when you work with that kind of stuff, you don't want to use a brand new car to throw your dirty old drywall tools in. And another thing is, this channel said that they talked to Donald's co-workers that day, two of them, who claimed to have seen Donald. But unless they have seen Donald that whole day, every minute of the day, and they can account for that time, I'm not buying that he was at his job all day. I really don't buy it. For some reason, I'm still on the thought that he only showed up for part of the day. I'd love to know what you think about this case. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? And are we ever going to get any closer to finding where Summer Wells is? I hope you guys are all doing well, enjoying the sweltering heat, because it's like 99 degrees here where I am. But have a wonderful, wonderful weekend as always, and I will see you all real soon. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love it if you would subscribe to our community, because we're going to be covering lots of cases. So I will see you very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.